This Headless Professor video is about the different grading plans for my on-campus classes. Every student will have two different options. The first option is a simple plan. I call it the 20th century plan because it's very similar to what I had when I was an undergraduate decades ago before we had widespread use of computers in the classroom. It's a very simple plan where we look at just two things, a project and a final exam. We don't count class discussions, little quizzes, or even the midterm. And there are no calculations involved. You don't have to figure out what the average is because we just look for the lower of two grades. Suppose you take the final exam and you're not very good at taking exams and you get a C. The project you do very well on because you work very hard and you get an A. But remember, under the simple plan, it's not an average, it's the lower of the two. The lower of the project or the final exam, and that would mean that your course grade would be a C. Well, there's a better plan waiting for you in my class. I call it the multiple options system, made for the 21st century. Now that requires that you use modern technology such as Google Documents to submit your project and correct other students' projects. Let's look at some of the components of the multiple options grading system. Now we have in-class discussion, and I'll count your best 30 days. So suppose your best 10 is pretty good at 90, your next best 10 is also a 90, but suppose your 10 other discussion days aren't that good, only a 72. I give 15 quizzes. I won't count the ones that you miss or do poorly on. I just want 10 good ones. Suppose they add up to 82. We have a midterm exam. Suppose you get an 85. Suppose you get 78 on your essay. Your term project is okay. You get an 83 on that. You correct other students' projects on Google Documents, and suppose you only get a 70 for that. And then you take the final exam, and you get the actual median grade of the class, 76 on your final exam. So let's see how we would include all of those things in your calculations for your grade. Under multiple options, we add up your best 10 components, and you can pick and choose which ones of these you want to use. And you could say we really are looking for 1,000 points possible, and how can you get enough for a good grade? 900 for an A, 800 for a B, 700 for a C, and 600 just to pass with a D. Well, let's count the things that you did best on. So let's see, what would we count in your grade? Now, the things you didn't do that well on, like the corrections, we won't count in your grade. Now, the project was pretty good, so let's count that. And remember, you can count the project up to 5 times for half of your grade. So there's half your grade right there. We'll also count that midterm at 85. That was pretty good. We'll count your 10 best quizzes at 82. Oh, we'll count your 20 best discussion grades. But we won't count your last few discussion grades. And let's see, we need something else. Oh, let's count that essay for 78. That's 10 particular components. They add up to 840. You would have a B for the course. Notice what we did not have to count in this case. We didn't have to count the final exam at all. The fact that you didn't do that well on the final exam didn't hurt your grade. But let's suppose you didn't do a project. Let's suppose that you only did 10 class discussion grades. What would that do to your grade? Well, we could still count your essay, You only did 10 discussion, but you didn't do the other discussion. You still would get the quiz grade. You'd still have the midterm. And we would have to count the corrections this time. And we'd have to count the final exam. The final exam, we could count up to 50% of your grade, and we'd have to do that to compensate for the fact that you didn't do a project. Here, we would have a total of only 785, a grade of C. Every student starts off under multiple options grading. You will not be allowed to do multiple options grading if you turn in your project as a paper copy. You'll go back to the old 20th century grading system of the simple plan. I think for students who are not mathematically challenged, the multiple options grading plan is a much better system. I have a little song to help you remember how it works. The more you do, the better you do, the better grade you get. Embrace technology and use the 21st century plan of multiple options grading.